Hello, and welcome to another game development broadcast for Project CSK. As usual, of course, I am the creator of the project and the online. Well, I forgot what I was saying. But I am the creator of the project, and this is an ongoing project that I've been working on for quite a while and will be working on for the foreseeable future. For those of you that are here, hello and welcome. And for those of you that will be watching later on YouTube, hello to you as well. Over the weekend, I had some time to work on it, and I made some good progress. Not necessarily progress in the terms of stuff that I've added, but stuff that I've fixed and things that I've discovered. Something else that I did as well is that I wrote a dev journal. I know it's been a while. I keep on wanting to do those more often. I just can't seem to get around to it to write these dev journals for one reason or another, or something always seems to come up. But anyway, I did make time for it and I did write the dev journal. And it was an interesting one. One that I kind of explored some things. Oh, hello, Mr. Cog 3D. How are you doing today? Hope you're doing well. A what journal? A dev journal. What do you mean a what journal? You've been here this long and you don't know that I write dev journals. That hurts my feelings. So if you go to the actual website, right here on the website, this link will take you to the latest dev journal, or you can go to the forums. You can also go to the forums here. It's same as following that link. Go into dev journal. And then this is the latest one that I have. And this is where I have all of my dev journals going back. And you can basically see the history or the progress of the project looking through all of these dev journals. And I've made a lot of dev journals over the years. But anyway, so here's the latest one that I just added, which kind of discussed some of the challenges that I've been having and the what I implemented and the tool that I implemented as well, which I'll be showing that pretty soon because I think it's an important one and it's worth mentioning because as developers or whatever it may be, tools are essential for doing the things that we do. They're really important. They give you something to use, like a hammer is a tool, right? But it can be used for so many different things. But if you don't have a hammer and you need a hammer, then you don't have a hammer, right? Then you're trying to figure out how to work around it, but you need a hammer. But so that's an ongoing challenge. But we'll be getting into that. These dev journals, I highly recommend them. I do put a fair bit of time into them, and they're worth reading and they're worth sharing. There's good information in there. And they're basically the highlights. So if you kind of want to be up to date, but you don't have time to watch the broadcast or the schedule doesn't match and you don't want to watch the broadcast, you can always read the dev journals, which I generally try to write every 2 weeks or so. But realistically, it doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes there'll be a gap or sometimes whatever, I'll intend to write it and I'll write some of it and I won't get around to completing it because other things will interrupt my time. And whatnot. But anyway, so you can find it right off the main website. So you can just go to candysugarkingdom.com, right? And then from there, you can just go to the forum, or you can just go to forum.candysugarkingdom.com. Either way, you'll end up on the forum, and it's in the dev journal section of the forum. So those are a really good read, and I highly recommend them personally. Well, of course, I have a biased opinion towards it, but I think they're good. I think they're good. There's a little bit of entertainment in there, and there's some good reading of the overall progress, definitely. So what did I do and what did I write about in that dev journal? I'll be kind of going over that because that's really important. Like I was saying, is to build tools, right? Because in the previous broadcast too, I was trying to debug something which was a logical flaw. It wasn't crashing. It was a logical flaw. So those are a bit more tricky to discover kind of what's going on. And to do that, you can trace your code. I used like all kinds of output traces, and then I went through and I used breakpoints, and then breakpoints weren't really giving me kind of the results I wanted. I really dislike using breakpoints. Not that I dislike them as a concept. They're so incredibly slow. If there was a more efficient way of using breakpoints, it would be superior to everything else. But since they're not, then what I want from it is the information without having to make a breakpoint. So that's where the debug output comes out. But sometimes you get too much debug output and you don't want to filter through it. So let me show you what I did here. Is I went and I built a Windows tool which extends from the window editor. So I added it as a part of the tools. So up here, when you go up to tools and you go to editor object tool, well, it's already open. So if I was to close this, right, we would just have a console. So the way that this works by adding this tool is it's added up here to the tools menu, which I chose to add it up there. And you bring this up, and this is my tool. Now, it doesn't look very interesting, but believe me, it is invaluable. It helped me see so many logical flaws, and I started refactoring some of my code because of it. So my object pool was the cause of the problem, of course, but let me show you what this tool offers, right? So on its own, right, you look at it and it's like, well, it doesn't do anything. Okay, but there's a checkbox here. Display pool. So what happens when you click on it, right? It says play to see the output. Okay, well, that's interesting, right? Play to see the output. So let's see what happens if you play without clicking that, right? So we play it. Not much, right? So when we click on it, oh, right, wrong scene, sorry. I need to go to the other scene that actually uses it. It's not completed. This tool is not completed, but I guarantee you, just bear with me for a sec, and you'll see how awesome this tool is. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Sometimes I just click places and I don't realize what I'm doing. Okay, what we want to do is change the scene to the other one that actually uses it properly. Okay, there we go, this scene. Okay, so checked or unchecked. If you check it, it gives you a notification. This is completely designed by me. Live breakpoints wish it would be embedded with Unity. It kind of is, and it's kind of not great, but it does work. It does work, and don't get me wrong, it's really valuable, but I just wish it was better than what it is. It's so slow, so slow. And this Unity 2022 is incredibly slower in terms of compiling and building your project and your code and just hitting stop and start. It's slower. But in terms of actually running the game versus the 2021 version, I think I can't tell the difference. As far as I know, it's identical. So let's see. From here then, when we go and run it, now you'll get to see what this tool actually does. Okay, so what this does is it exposes my object pool. My object pool was the cause of the problem, and this is how I built out the tool. So you can edit these columns. So if I say I want this to be, let's say, 300 width, I can do that. If I want to change these to 200 width, I can do that, right? Obviously, it's not really necessary, and the 250 and 100 are ideal for my usage. But let me let me activate the controller, and then you'll see this in action. Of course, if I was to log in and run the game, you would see it really well. But okay, so I can control my character now. Now watch what happens. Specifically, you'll see instances, right? Instances meaning how many instances of this object exists total, right? On stage means how many of them are currently on the stage, meaning on the canvas within the scene, right? in the pool, meaning that they're kind of, they exist, right? But they're not visible. They're hidden, but they are existing in the pool and waiting to be used. So let's see what happens here. So I place one explosive here, right? And it blew up. So now explosives, I have two instances because this one is set to not detonate and be there indefinitely for now. We have one on stage, that's this guy here. We have one in the pool, right? So if I go and I keep using the same one, you'll see that the pool gets drained, but it's the same object that I'm using, right? And then if I was to create multiple, right? So then the object instances, right? They went up to 9, right? But you can see now I have 8 in the pool and 1 on stage, right? Now this is really, really important because before I was guessing at this stuff and I had some outputs here and there, right? I didn't know that the way that I set up the object pool, there were some logical flaws, which was the result of the invisible bombs. The invisible explosives were as a result of that, as well as invisible objects, pick up items and other things are also a result of that. And eventually what happens is if I keep on playing round after round after round, placing enough of them, eventually it gets to some kind of edge case scenario where it will crash and it all comes back to the way that it was pooled. My pool was not accurate and I wasn't taking all the factors into consideration, right? So making this tool, right, allows me to see that and allowed me to diagnose the object pool. And this can have an unlimited number of items in there. What it does is the purpose of it is exactly that, is to expose the object pool. And I will for sure be adding on to this and I'll be making a lot more tools like this. So how does it work, right? Because this isn't a normal Unity object, right? It extends from the editor window. Okay, so the way that it works is the menu item. So this is how it gets up into the menu section by saying tools, editor, object pool. Really, I could put it anywhere, but I wanted it up here. I wanted one called tools, right, specifically, because I'll be adding all of my project tools into this area. So into this drop-down menu is where it will go. So tools, editor, object pool basically means this belongs in there. Right? There is no instance of this. It doesn't exist. It's not a game object. It's not a mono behavior. It's none of that, right? So it extends from editor window. And because it extends from editor window, it has certain functionality that you need to be aware of and to use. Now, if you want to see a good tutorial on this, and the one that I actually used as a reference was actually Jason Wayman's YouTube video tutorial that he output about, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks ago now. I thought that was really good. And this is partially borrowing from that, of course, deviating to make it do what it is that I wanted to do. But anyway, so what we're doing is basically saying, okay, so this, you need to create the on GUI functions, because that's pretty much what we're using is the on GUI. If you think about it, it's kind of like, in a way, it's kind of like HTML, CSS, but you're allowed to execute code in it. So kind of like, what's it called? CSS with scripting in it, right? So it's pretty neat, but of course it's a lot more powerful because it's C# based. So of course I check if is playing. So if it's not playing, then I give output that nice little message that says you do need to play it to see it, of course, because there's no object pool if you don't play it, right? And then from there, these editor GUI layout, end horizon and start horizon, begin horizon stuff, this is just for alignment purposes. I won't get into it, but if you think about it, it's kind of like CSS, right? You open a div, you need to close the div, right? If you don't close the div, you're going to have some weird alignment stuff, and this will actually give you an error. It's really interesting, and I highly recommend using it. That option has been available for years now. It's good you find it useful. Yeah, I've been meaning to make tools like this for project. I just haven't really had a need for it, right? It's something that I now needed something. So I made this, and it's like, wow, I should have done this earlier. So then we have some text fields, which are input fields for the width of the columns. And then from there, I separated out. So I broke out some of the logic. We did a horizontal line. We did the column headers and populate the column information. And then we tell it to repaint. So it just keeps on updating while it's necessary, I guess. And because it's not really meant to be run all the time, right? The unchecking of this checkbox basically just disables it. So it doesn't really take up any resources that it doesn't need to. Of course, this won't run when it's built. This runs only when it's in Unity. But this was really helpful for me to figure out kind of what to do. So the other thing that I did is, so you did that over the weekend? Yes, I did, as well as the Z-depth sorting thing that I was having some misunderstandings of before and whatnot. So now the sorting works, and here's what the animation looks like for the block, right? So I got my little lines, kind of little trace lines coming down, comes down, hits the ground, and we get that nice little dust effect, right? I still haven't figured out the transparencies for the cutouts, but that's a different challenge. That's me not understanding shaders well enough yet to be able to utilize them properly, but I will get to that point later on. And the neat thing is, because these objects are being used, they also exist inside of the object pool, right? So that would be our I forget which one. Oh, okay, so that would be destroyable objects. So yeah, all of it uses the object pool. It's really awesome to be able to see this information, because once I saw this, then I was like, okay, I kept on reprioritizing elsewhere. So what I needed to go back is to revisit my object pool. I needed to continue the development on my two-dimensional dictionary, which I called Dictionary 2D. Which will then result in me doing some other cleanup code. So that's what I'm going to be working on today, is cleaning up to fix these logical flaws that were introduced some time ago, because I just didn't really implement all of the solutions that I wanted to and bring them all together. And this little 2D dictionary, this one here, is actually pretty cool too. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this kind of stuff, but I really like this kind of generic use case functions. So using the T, I forget what it's called, but basically what you're saying is this has not been defined, but it will be defined. So I have T0, T1, and T2. That way this is my dictionary. So then when I go to create it, then I'm specifying what type those are. So T0 is string, T1 is string, and T2 is iPoolable object. So I'm going to move all of these dictionaries that I have into my 2D dictionary, which will help significantly clean up the code. Then I want to make another one of these. So instead of it just being a two-dimensional dictionary, it'll be a dictionary with a list inside of it that behaves a certain way, so that I don't have to have that logic inside of my main environment class, or inside of my main object pool manager. And this is very reusable, which allows me to use it in whatever way that I want and change the behavior of it. And it's got some debug stuff also built into it. So this is a kind of a pretty much, for lack of a better term, it's a 2D dictionary, but it's kind of made to fit the usage that I want it to kind of use it for. programming can be so rewarding? Absolutely. Yes, I agree. Especially when you figure something out that's kind of not been behaving correctly because you just kind of threw some kind of a solution together but didn't really follow it through to complete it and implement everything because there was other areas that would somehow, some way reference or tie in together. So you need to define the parameters or the scope of the functionality that you needed before you can really commit into solidifying something and really implementing something. Those can lead to logical flaws, which of course is exactly what happened here. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be moving all of these dictionaries. Every single one of these is going to get removed, and it's going to be moved into a singular dictionary 2D, which will clean up a lot of my code here as well, because this class right now is about so it's roughly 1,500 lines of code. When I move everything over to the 2D dictionary, that's going to trim about 500 lines of code, and it's going to clean things up. And then what I'm going to be doing is also going to my object pool. I have a dictionary of sorts, but it's this here, so a dictionary with a list inside of it. I want to move this into a similar concept to this, right? So it's generic, and it allows me to use this because these two different types of dictionaries. So dictionary 2D with another dictionary nested inside of it. So a two-dimensional dictionary, and then a dictionary with a list, right? But also behaving a little different, right? It's kind of like a bit more fault tolerant. It doesn't give me errors, and it behaves a certain way, which is exactly how I intend to use it. So those are going to get used a lot throughout the project. So it's worth spending the time and making something like this, which can be used because it uses generic. I forget what it's like T something, what these are called, but it's really neat. I really like the usage of how you can use these. So it's basically, it means that before you use it, you have to typecast it. And then when you typecast it, then you're telling it exactly what type of variables are going to be going into there. So then it becomes a strict type of programming language. Oh, hey, Uzak, how are you doing today? Hope you're doing well. I'm going to assume you just came in, Uzak. I'll show you this real quick because I thought it was pretty cool. Let me just get this going again. So I built a tool which is used for debugging. But you'll see that I have an object pool tool, but now, so the popsicles, I think you've seen those before. So popsicles, they use the object pool. All these objects now use the object pool now that it's exposed. And here's my block, right? So I worked on this one over the weekend too, and I think it turned out pretty well, right? So we got that nice little, it comes down, hits the ground. It's got that little bit of a bouncy and a little bit of a dust effect to it. I think it looks pretty good. I really like it. Of course, I'll be improving on it, but for the most part, I think it looks really good, and it's pretty much what I wanted to achieve at this point. Very nice. Yeah, I agree. Thank you. I do think it looks very nice. Okay, so gentlemen, I'm going to be working on, like I said, cleanup, because then by moving all of this stuff into the 2D dictionary, right, it's going to solve a lot of those logical flaws. It's going to clean up the code. It's going to reduce the overall number of lines here. And then this will slowly cascade into the object pool. And like I mentioned before, I am working on learning about shaders and how they work using shader graph. And then there's, of course, vertex shaders. There's shaders, vertex shaders, and all these other really interesting things that I currently, honestly, just don't know much about yet at this time. But they're going to be huge, though. They're going to be a huge part of programming or the project moving forward, programming and whatnot. And the reason for that is because shaders So shaders, again, I'm very new to it. If you know HLSL or whatever the shader language is, then you can do some pretty cool stuff. But I'll be using, I think, mostly shader graph. I have made my very first shader, which is what allowed me to fix the Z-depth sorting complication that we were having. But shaders is basically, if you think about it, at its conceptually, at its core, you're handing over code logic, right? Or you're structuring code logic, but then you're passing that over to the GPU instead of the CPU, because the CPU is great at doing everything, right? But it doesn't specialize in anything at all, right? The GPU, right, is not great at doing everything, but it specializes on doing certain things and it does them very well. So something that the CPU can bottleneck on, like doing pixel kind of rendering, 3D modeling, or certain types of calculations, you just hand those over through the shader to the GPU, and the GPU takes that and it barely even breaks a sweat. It does, and it executes it so well, so that it becomes this balancing thing, right? Where you're all of the rendering and stuff, you want to pass it on to the GPU. You don't want to do it on the CPU, and this was part of the issue that Flash was having, because it wasn't using the GPU. It was doing all the GPU everything on a virtual machine that used your CPU and only output the results to the GPU to then output to display, right? Which of course is not the best usage of your system resources, because you can have the best computer in the world and have an amazing graphics card, but if you're not using the graphics card, it serves no purpose, and the CPU would just bottleneck because it's not meant to do those types of calculations. But now, because we're going to be passing over the logic over through the shaders, we can do some really cool both particles as well as shader type of visual kind of stuff. And have the GPU do that stuff, and it's really, really cool. Like any game that you've played, anything and everything that you've played, all of those, like let's say a RPG game or whatever type of game, all of those visual effects, sometimes called VFX or whatever they want to call them, explosions, spells, casting, lightning, sword effects, tracers, all of that stuff, that is all stuff that is passed on to your GPU that either uses shaders for rendering, or a mixture of shaders and particle system, which are all using shaders at its core using the GPU. So it's pretty cool. And that is what's going to allow us, specifically this project, to be cross-platform compatible and going to be able to run on low-end devices like most other popular games, or pretty much like every other game, because it's going to be balanced onto the CPU, and we're going to be utilizing GPU. But I need to learn that GPU stuff. The challenge with that, though, is that it's really time consuming, and I'm very new to it. But once we get a better understanding of that, I'm going to do some really cool like spells, effects, and that kind of stuff, which will come into play for the game world part, as well as in the game room as well. We're going to be using a lot more, let's say, eye candy aesthetics, for lack of a better term. But you'll see what I mean when we start to get to that point. You'll see the cool stuff that I'm going to be doing, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's just that I have a lot to learn. I really do. There is no shortcut. There is no shortcut. The only way to do it is practice, 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 and research and read and more practicing. That's the only way we're going to get there. And I'm committed to the project. And I always knew that I would have to learn shaders and that kind of stuff too. So we'll get there. We'll definitely get there. And it's going to be good. Anyway, so where are we at then? So the reason why the explosive bombs are now working, because they are the first one that got taken out, and they're already in here. So they're already using this dictionary 2D. What we need to do is move all the other stuff to use the dictionary 2D, and then we're going to kind of consolidate the code and streamline it, simplify it, and make it more generic and reusable. So that's kind of the idea. And let's just jump right into it and have a look and see, how did we even do this? Because I know my code is kind of a little bit all over the place right now. And this is what I like about it, is that it's a dictionary 2D. You're passing in 3 parameters. Instead of dictionary, normally you would add the key, and then you would add the object to be stored, right? Whereas this way, we're passing in 3 parameters because it's a 2D dictionary, right? So it's pretty cool that it works out that way. Okay, so key exists, okay. And then this is the get. I want to change that logic, of course. I want to centralize the get to being more generic, and I think that's probably one of the first things I'm going to do. Okay. And then we have the remove all, which removes these, and I'll be cleaning up some of this code. It's going to trim about 500 or more lines off of this class, and it'll clean everything up. And then recycle, okay. I'll definitely be making this stuff more generic, absolutely. And then we have the recycle. So this was an important one, because this is what was part of what was missing that was causing the object pool to not behave in the way that I would have liked it to behave. Okay, so all right, starting point. Let's centralize some of that logic. So I want to move pool key object. I think I want to move this into a function call. That way we can hook into it. And then add a listener as well. I want to move those in together, actually. Okay, so these become one function. Let's move that to the bottom for now. Maybe not to the very bottom. Those are my calculation stuff. Let's move it into here. Okay, so it's going to be private void dictionary 2D add. Okay. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be passing that information in. Where was that? I didn't copy it correctly. Okay, whatever. So that stuff is going to be one single call. It's going to provide the pool type, key ID, and the iPoolable reference, I believe. Yeah, the iPoolable reference. I'm just thinking for a sec. Yeah, that should be good. Okay, so we're going to be passing in. Wait, that was old. No, actually, I'll leave that in. For a second there, I thought I missed that, but no. So that's fine. What we want to pass in is the object pool type. Whoops. We want to be passing that stuff in. Object pool type, key ID, explosive object. Okay. Object pool type, key ID, and then the iPoolable object. Okay. And then this, oh, it requires that because it needs to, wait, why does it do that? It should be the other interface. It should be iEvent dispatcher. Actually, before we do that, let's not jump ahead quite that quickly. I like to leave something behind so I can reference it. So this would be the iEvent dispatcher. Okay, so same thing for this one here. This will also use the iEvent dispatcher reference. This is why I really like interfaces, is you can just do some really cool stuff, and it helps kind of just make everything so much more reusable. Okay, so with that, that should work. This iPoolable object will need to be typecast to iEvent dispatcher. Okay, so that should be working. Just so I can see it at a glance. All right, so there's another part to this. Wasn't there? Okay, so we add the exists. I'm okay with leaving that check in there, but then there is the list all values. No, that's fine. I will make this function more generic, of course. I'll make that one generic as well. And then the remove. I think I want to make that. I want to make this its own function as well. I don't want it to be here. Yeah, because then we're going to need to be able to hook into some of this logic. And the cleaner it is, the more useful it is to me. So what we'll be doing is we'll be moving that into private void dictionary 2D remove. That's of course old. Indentation looks a bit off. No, actually it's fine. So we'll be passing in iPoolable object. And then that will check the why do I have this check here? What it really should be is if dictionary 2D dot exists key iPoolable object dot object pool type, if it equals true, then we just say then we say dictionary 2D dot remove this dot object pool type, and then we say this dot ID. Why did ID not come up? Oh no. iPoolable object, we don't have ID. ID comes from, right. Okay, ID comes from the other interface. It comes from no. I don't think I have an interface for that, but I should be able to say environment dynamic object. That should work too. Okay, let's go with that for now. I need to test this, of course. Oh no, this doesn't have ID. I'm doing this wrong, aren't I? Yes, I am. Okay. Okay, so that's all we really need to do. So we check if the type exists. Oh, we're doing a secondary check. Okay, I didn't do that one. Okay, so else we'll say primary key does not exist if dictionary 2D dot key exists So secondary key doesn't exist, and what we're going to be doing is doing a check first, then doing a remove. Okay, that should work. Okay, so that keeps it nice and generic. Unlike before, it was kind of using some my initial test stuff, which was okay, but it just wasn't generic enough. This way, it's very generic. I can pass in pretty much anything. Okay, so this function then will go and replace the other one, the remove. Okay. And this was that was the old code, so we don't need that. And then I will just comment this out here and just leave it here for now. Okay. I'll come back and I'll remove all of this stuff later, of course, when I'm done with it. Wait, I spelled that wrong. How did I spell it? Oh, I see. Okay. It wasn't wrong. It was just missing a capital. It looked like it was wrong, but it wasn't. Okay, so we got add, we got remove. So I'm okay with that. We got add, we got remove. So what we need then is we need retrieve. Where's the get? Did I miss it? I think I did. Where's our call that we pull the object from the object pool? Right here. I want to move this call and make this generic as well. So this will be one call. This reparenting one, I might need to kind of restructure this logic a little bit, but this for sure needs to be its own call right here. So this one, same idea. We're going to go down here and we're going to call and retrieve it. So we'll have a private iPoolable object get object from pool. And we're going to pass in the type. Really don't like it when it does that. It keeps on predicting the code incorrectly. Okay, so we can't do this though. We have to check if it was valid. It's always better to make it fault tolerant. So if for some reason it failed, we'll say string output equals could not retrieve object pool type from object pool. Okay. And then what I'm going to do with that is we'll say debug.log format text color, and we'll put our string output here, and then and we'll make it a color red just so it really pops. Okay. And then same thing. So we're going to double log it until I standardize on a different logging system. But so this will give us the output log in red in Unity. And then the other one is I want it during game. So I want my own custom logger output. So again, this would be of type game engine, I guess. And then the severity of it, I want it to be pretty serious. And that'll give us the stack trace. Okay. So that is, I believe, the direction we're going to go with that. Call restore first. I think I need to expand on that. Restore gets called first to set its visibility this should also reset the object to its original state if it had an animation completed or interrupted. Yes, my spelling is really bad. Okay, so now I can use this function now we can use that. And we're going to use it right. I'm going to consolidate more of this logic. It's going to be trimmed down quite a bit. Oh, okay. I forgot about this part. Okay, and we'll store it in the reference of iPoolable object. Okay, so that brings that down. Definitely need to do some cleanup, which is fine. We will get there. The other stuff, I don't know if I want to touch that just yet, but I think those are the main functions that I wanted to kind of funnel the logic into, so that way it becomes reusable for the other stuff that we're going to be adding. But I do need to test it. Since I've done that, I definitely need to test it. Oh, there's a couple more functions I just remembered. That's okay. So we just need to make sure that it doesn't crash. Seems to be working well. Is it my imagination or did I skip a couple? I think I may have skipped. No, maybe it was just my imagination. I think it is working. Okay, well, it's not crashing. That's the main thing. So if it's not crashing, then that works for me for now. We will come back to that. Okay, so the other one that I wanted to make into a generic function was the usage of the dictionary 2D when we went and called no, that's something else. We'll get to that later. Okay, so this one. Remove game room explosives. I want to make this into one function and then recycle game room. I want to make these generic as well. So then they become a very simple function call which funnel into another one. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so we'll need to do both of these functions. Okay, so that's legacy. That's legacy. Okay, so it'll be still the same. Private void. It will be called remove environment object type. Remove environment Remove environment object type, or should it be of type? It should be remove environment object of type, and then we'll be passing in the yeah, that's what we're going to do. So that way, that one will call this. So this will be the object pool type. I think that's what I called it. Let's see, what did I call it? Yeah, object pool type. Oops, I don't need that bookmark. Okay, so yeah, that's what it's going to do. What we will do is make this generic. And by generic, I mean, I want to just call that function, pass in the type, and have it use the type reference instead. So then all of them will funnel through this. So this will go and replace this logic here. And then this will pass in this type. So it just makes it easier to manage. So that means this logic is redundant. And then same idea for this one here. So we will have a private void recycle No, recycle is going to be the same pretty much. It's going to be pretty much, oh wait, no, I don't want to copy that. Okay, so this will again be object pool type. That's kind of the unique identifier I'm using as a categorization. It may change later, but for right now, it's the unique one that is being used. So I'm just going to go with it. And it all centralizes to the static public variable that's exposed. So it'll be fine. Okay, so for the recycle, it's going to do pretty much this. Yeah. So then that will go and replace this one here. And you can see kind of what I'm doing is really, it's just making the functions more generic because they were too restrictive before. This way I can just call a function, pass something into it, and I know exactly what it's going to do. And it's going to do that one thing very well. Cycle should be fine there. Okay, yeah, so these are both fine, but then I'm going to make these a part of another function later, which will be a recycle all or remove all. That way it'll loop through and clean everything up. That way it'll be well managed, and it'll be very strictly managed, should I say. And I won't run into those complications that I was having before, which We're getting invisible explosives, like I was saying, but this will clean all of it up. There will be no more invisible objects. Everything will be handled correctly. Okay, so you guys can hear the dog, right? Oh, now it stops barking. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so now that we have this, we've done the prep work. There, it starts barking again. We've done the prep work, and we can move some of the other stuff into it. So let's move something that I know. We can move popsicle. Oh, I never added popsicles in the first place. Yeah, that's a bit unfortunate. Maybe it's trying to tell me something. Well, if it's trying to tell anyone something, it's the owner. That's my opinion. But I believe that dogs are incredible creatures, like many other creatures that are part of nature. We're creatures that are part of nature as well, right? They feel, they like to have fun, they get bored, they get tired, they want to sleep, they're grumpy, all of that stuff, right? But when you bring something like that into your home, what you're doing is you're bringing this creature and you're adding it to be a part of your family, right? You need to treat it like your family, and in return, it'll treat you with respect, just like a part of a pack, a part of a family, right? So if a dog is barking all the time, one, it's likely not very happy, or it doesn't understand something, or it wasn't taught how to behave, or any one of the above, or all of the above, and then some, right? So it's important that when you're going to bring something like that into your family, you take into consideration the time and effort needed to make this creature feel welcome in your family so that it can behave in a similar way of how you behave, because it is a reflection of you in essence, because the dog isn't going to learn from the rest of the world. It only learns from you. You learn from the rest of the world because you get to roam around, you get to do the things that you do. And the dog only has you to learn from for the most part, and for the few times here and there when you take it out for a walk, right? This building that I'm currently in is dog friendly, right? So there's a lot of dogs, right? I have dogs on both sides. On one side is a older dog. I don't know if it's male or female, but I do feel sad for it because I hear it not only barking, but I also hear it like crying, like howling when it's really lonely. And I feel bad. I do, but there's nothing I can do about that, right? Because the owner goes to work, right? The dog's there by itself, right? For most of the day, right? So it gets bored. It has nothing to do, and it feels sad and it feels lonely. So then it starts to howl and it starts to cry, right? On the other side, I got this dog, right? This one, the owner just doesn't train the dog, like all of the things that I said. If you take the time and you invest it into the dog, you get that time invested back in terms of getting a well-behaved member of your pack, right? And the owner just hasn't bothered really to do that. I see the owner taking the dog out here and there, but the training stuff, no. And the owner yells at the dog, which is not good, right? If a dog doesn't understand something, or if it does something that's wrong, you don't yell at the dog and expect it to understand. It's looking at you like, I don't speak English. You're yelling at me and I don't know what you're saying, right? So I'm going to keep yelling at other people because I don't know what's going on, right? That's basically what's going on, right? So, yeah. Hey, you take me for a walk. That's a good possibility. I would say that's a very good possibility. Saying, I want to go outside. I'm tired of being inside all the time. You need a dog? No, I don't need a dog. as much as I would like one, I am responsible enough that I can say that I don't have the time to put towards a dog. I have enough responsibilities. Though I have considered a very low maintenance pet of some sort, though again, I don't want to be unfair to a living creature that I bring into my personal space. I don't want it to feel neglected. I want it to feel like it's welcome, and I want to be able to have some time to take care of it, to teach it stuff, and for us to just maybe have some fun, fool around, whatever, because all animals like to play. It doesn't matter if you have a dog or if you have a cat or you got a parrot, right? All of them want to play, right? All of them want some of your time, no matter how you look at it. They want to be groomed. They want to be pet. They need a shower from time to time. That's for sure, right? So I don't have the time for it, but I really do like the idea of it though. It's something I've thought about many times. But if I was to get something, I would probably get something that's very low maintenance, and it wouldn't be a dog. I don't think it would be a cat either. But then that leaves the question of what would it be? I don't know. I don't know. Do you guys have pets? If you do, tell me what kind of pet you got. And do you consider yourself a responsible and good pack leader? That's an important one. You keep cutting out on me, so I'm going to do a total reboot. Oh, okay. I wasn't aware of that. I'm looking at my stream quality, and everything says it is excellent. So I think it might be on your end. For the others, Uzak and the other guys that are in that don't really talk much, if there is something wrong with the stream, just let me know. If there's hiccups or if the audio is not coming through, or whatever the case may be, just let me know, and I'll see what I can do about it. But as far as I know, all the statistics that I can see say that my output and audio are excellent. So I'm going to assume that for now. Okay, so now we're ready to move some of this stuff into the dictionary 2D. The one that I think is probably a good one to move is Destroyables. Actually, all of them. They all need to go. Ground cubes, I think, is a bit different. I meant to make that poolable. I don't know if I did. Never mind, I did. Oh, I meant to make it extend from environment object and then to ground cube. That's what I meant to do, and I didn't do that. So this will actually not work within the current logic structure. But so that means I'll do that one last. Yeah. Because all of these pickup items, all of these extend from environment dynamic objects. So we need that as a base class or the in-between. Yeah, okay, so we need that. So ground cube, we'll get to that one last. So for right now, let's do Destructibles. So if I take this out, how much stuff does it break? Okay. So what we need to do is we need to implement that logic. So we need to say iPoolable object equals, how did I do that again? What was that function? It was something like get, remove, get object from pool. That's what it was. Get object from pool. That's what I wanted. So we get the object from the pool. We need that reference. That's fine. And then we want to do the add portion of it. And it was add to dictionary do 2D or something. Dictionary 2D add. That's what it is. Okay, so let's see, what else did we break here? Okay, this... Do we even use this anymore? I don't think we use this. Create 2D dynamic object. Where do we call that from? Create pillar. Create environment object. Create destructible. Oh. Right, we have some redundant logic. Okay. Yeah, I definitely need to clean this up. I don't think I'll be able to do all of it tonight. Oh, wow, that time. It just flew by. But I think this is definitely the direction to move forward with this. I'll need to just piece by piece keep on refactoring the logic. I don't think this one is being used, to be honest. I could be wrong. Oh, it is used. Okay, it's from the test function. Oh. Okay. Back internet. Oh, okay. Well, welcome back. Hope your internet's working fine now. My internet is sporadic at times too. And oh, those recent Windows updates, they're brutal. I don't know if you heard a couple of weeks ago, so there was this Windows update that basically locked a good number of users out of their computers. Yeah, that happened. So the Windows update basically resulted in users needing to I think it was something, I don't remember the full details. It was something to do with the bit key or BitLocker key. So imagine you're at work, you do your work, end of day, you leave, you're in a corporation, whether you're home or wherever, office, whatever, and you come in the next day and you can't log in. You're locked out, right? And it became this huge deal. So many people, it didn't affect me, but so many people. And even if you think about it, even if it was 0.01%. That 0.01% at scale is a lot of users. And I do mean a lot. Imagine the devastating effect that this would have, right? Never heard of it? Yeah, so this was about 2 weeks ago. And then, so they patched that one, not immediately, of course. So those people were in a difficult scenario for I don't know how long. I don't know how long they were in that, maybe even for a week until the next update. So then the week after, right, roughly a week ago, another Windows update, right? So this one, it messed up my audio, right? Because I use a complex audio configuration, right? So I use this thing called Voice Meter Potato. So it lets me virtualize my audio so I can control what comes in, right? Where it goes out, right? And I can basically mix them here and I can adjust different values and whatnot. It messed this up. And this is very common to use for those who do broadcasting on a single computer setup. So it messed this up. And my monitors still haven't recovered from it because I have two monitors. Both of them are the same monitor from the same manufacturer, just different size, right? But one of them has audio output, which I use periodically. The other one does not. Windows, right? Depending on which update I get on Windows, it forgets and is unable to differentiate between which monitor has the audio output versus which one does not. Windows blames LG, LG blames Windows. I'm stuck in the middle like, dude, figure this out. How is this my problem? This isn't a me problem. This is a you problem. And by you, I mean both of you, right? Nothing I can do about it, right? So, yeah. Yeah, Voice Meter Potato. It's freeware. So you can get this. It's a bit challenging to set up. Highly recommend going through the YouTube to figure out how to configure this because you're going to need to install drivers. It's not something you set up in under 5 minutes. No, this is something that takes time to understand. So then you get pretty good control of your inputs, your outputs, what gets mixed. Like this one here that is active. This one is my headset, right? If I mute this, then I have no audio to my headset, but I can have audio to my headset. I can have the audio output for the LG monitor. So this is my second one. I can have 5 more outputs, and these outputs can also be virtual outputs to be virtual inputs into something else too, right? So you can do some really cool stuff. I don't use it to its full capabilities, but I use this regularly. And then because it's freeware, right, you have to buy it. Really, it's a nice way of saying, they say it's donation, but it really, you have to buy it. And you can choose how much you want to pay. You can pay the bare minimum, which is like, I don't know, like 15, 20 bucks, or you can donate more because it's, you know, a small group of people who made this thing. And it's what funds the development of it, right? So I bought it. So I have a licensed version. I use the free version initially. And then the free version, the restriction there is that it gives you a notification every time before you can use it, right? Every time you open it or Windows starts, you have to click to pass on that notification. But then after a period of time, that notification stays on for longer and longer and longer and longer and longer until you get sick and tired of seeing it. And then you're going to have to make a donation to make that go away. But once you do that, it goes away and you use it without the notification. But this is pretty good. I would not advocate for this if you're not comfortable with going into this kind of detail. But if you're here watching my stream and you have previous experience in development, this pretty much is your alley. You just need to figure out how to make this thing behave the way that you want it to behave. So you can have multiple inputs. You can have up to 5 hardware inputs. I'm currently using just a few. Your hardware inputs can be virtual inputs as well. And then you have your mixing, you have your desktop, I have communication, I have music, and then you got your outputs over here, and you can choose which one is your output. And it does a lot of cool stuff. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not the best at explaining it. Highly recommend watching the videos on YouTube for it. But if you're not sure if that's for you, it's probably not for you. Anyway, so yeah, that Windows update, it messed up my audio again. So now I can't play audio out of my monitor unless I restart and Windows randomly chooses which monitor is the one that has the output. So it does a 50-50 gamble, right? If on restart it chose the right one, then I will be able to play output through my monitor because it has speakers. If it chose the wrong one, it will tell me output is playing through the monitor, right? But it's trying to play out through the monitor that doesn't have speakers, right? So obviously it's not going to play anything, right? And there's nothing I can do about that. The only thing I can do is reboot my system and roll the dice. That's all I can do. So that's where I'm at right now with that latest Windows update from a week ago that was there to fix the other one that broke and locked people out of their personal computers. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, as a developer, I understand there's going to be bugs. I understand there's going to be challenges. But also, as a developer, when I'm working on something like this, I call it an alpha. I call it early development. I don't call this public release or commercial release and put it out to the public and use you guys as guinea pigs. I don't believe that's honest, right? And I believe in honesty. I think it's the right way to go. But that's just my opinion, right? I'm not the head of a multi-trillion-dollar corporation. So it is what it is. Okay, so back to this. Okay, we're running a little bit low on time. I do have a little bit more time. For those of you that are new, feel free to hit that follow button. If you want to be up to date with the project, you're welcome to read the dev journals that I put on the official forum. And you're welcome to join Discord, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I only really use those to basically mention when I'm going live, really. I do actually plan on, at some point in the near future, putting the project up on itch.io and also on Steam. So it'll be, you'll be able to wish list it and just kind of have something on there. So that's something I'm definitely looking forward to. But to get to that point, there's some other things that I need to do before I get to there. Weak Potato Clone, hello and welcome to the broadcast. First time chat. I'm going to assume you're possibly a first time viewer as well. Hello. Feel free to say hi. Feel free to introduce yourself. The rest of us here, I think, are regulars, so we all kind of know each other, including the barking dog in the background. That's also a regular. It's kind of the star sometimes. Okay, so we streamlined some of the logic. Currently, it's in a broken state. And what I want to do is I want to clean up some of the rest of it. So this one here, we'll use the same logic that we used. Where was it? I should have probably bookmarked it. This right here. I plan on getting rid of this switch statement and this logic. This is all kind of legacy. It kind of just happened to end up being what it is for now. But we'll definitely be cleaning this stuff up. And I do mean quite a bit of cleanup. I'm new to coding. Well, great. That's great. So you're on your journey as well to become a developer. I'm going to assume that you're also interested in making games because I know most of us are, but you know, some of us also have other experiences as well, whether it's web development or other similar related things like application, web. I know I've done a bunch of stuff, some database stuff here and there too. Create explosive effect. Oh, the animate one. Right, 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 right. This doesn't exist yet, but it will exist in the future. So this will use the dictionary 2D, and it will check exists key. How will I do that? Exists key. No, I don't think so. Because I need the type. Okay, I don't think I can do this one right now. I think I need to refactor this, but we don't have any animations except for pickup items. Of course, we have that. Yeah, I need to refactor more of this code because it's like 4 different versions kind of mashed into each other, and that's why I was having that difficulty with identifying the flaw in the object pool, is because there's so many versions of code and different kinds of things I attempted within this one class file. So I can't do this right now. I'll need to disable this for now. But what I will do is I will leave a note at a later time, right? Implement, or should I say, no, at a later time, this logic will need to be refactored to implement the new dictionary 2D. Okay, that I can do. So I'll leave that note there because I need to restructure some of this stuff to make it more generic, like how I did with some of the other functions. Okay, and then this one here, we already have these functions, which is why I made them. So I can just disable this. And I can say remove I think it was dictionary 2D remove, and then I just pass in the type. Yeah. So I just need to pass in the type into it and we should be good. So this one is the Destructibles. I need a reference for that. Destroyable objects. Whoops, no, I meant to use the other one. What was that other one? Dictionary 2D remove. Where was that other one? There was another function I added in here, which was a more generic get object from pool, dictionary 2D remove. Yeah, that's what it was. Remove environment object of type. I'm just getting the functions mixed up at this time. So we already have that function. That way it cleans up really well by just funneling the logic that way. I find it's very helpful to do it that way. So then if that's that one, then this one is going to be recycle environment object of type. And that's why I made those functions. So this should, in theory, work correctly, just like how it was before, but it'll run cleaner, and it'll be using the new 2D dictionary instead of the previous one. So let's see it in action. So this one was the Destructibles. I think we'll need to log in to see that, but let's just test this out first. So I got my controller hooked up. I completely lost my internet connection. That's unfortunate. So you're having not the greatest luck with your internet right now. Okay. And then these are, of course, not being recycled because nothing's destroying them right now. Okay, so let's change scene. Okay, so the object pool gets cleared. Oh, I don't have my local server up. I'll need to do that real quick. Just bear with me, and I will get this up and running. I've had problems with them cutting out ever since I upgraded to their extreme speed. Oh no, that's unfortunate. I would probably, depending on when you upgraded, give them a little bit of time and then give them a call. Are you using, what is it, Rogers or Shaw by any chance, or are you using TELUS? Shaw, 500 megabits per second. Yeah. So the thing with Rogers and Shaw is that they don't have real fiber optics for homes yet. They have this thing that's pseudo fiber optics. So for advertisement purposes, they just call it fiber optics, because right now, so Novus, if you can get it, is your best option. So if you live in an apartment or somewhere, if you have access to Novus, go with Novus. They are number one. They are true fiber optics, and you get the best prices with them. TELUS is your number two, right? TELUS has true fiber optics. Shaw and Rogers do not yet have true fiber optics. They have pseudo fiber optics. So is you know, it's unfortunate. They're rolling out, so you'll eventually get it. But if you're having interruption in your service and it's an ongoing thing, I personally would not be okay with that. I would give them a little bit of time to iron it out, but then I would reach out to customer support and I'd be like, hey, this is what's going on. Something's not right. They may need to just switch you to another channel, because it could be that you're bottlenecking on a certain channel at a certain hour. That's still a thing. Um, Both of them, whether it's Rogers, Shaw, or TELUS, they're called Robellus for a reason. And if you haven't heard that term, read up on it. On DSLreports.com or whatever others, they all have a ridiculous amount of negative reviews. It's because they have a monopoly, right? You don't have another choice. The only other one that came in is Novus, but they're specifically going for high rises and apartments, and they only have select areas. And Robellus is fighting them tooth and nail to try and prevent them, just like how in the States they're doing their best to stop Google Fiber from rolling out. Because if you had Google Fiber, basically what you would be paying is about $50 a month, right? And you'd be getting gigabit internet. Think about that for a second. That is true high-speed internet, right? But these monopolies, over here we have Robellus, over there just south of the border, or should I say south of the Canadian border, which would be the Americans, they have, what's it called, Comcast, and they also have a monopoly, just like how we do. So it's really just comes down to money, honestly. That's all it is. Corporations want money. That's the only thing. They don't care about quality of service. It just comes down to greed, unfortunately. There's no nice way of putting it. Okay, so from here, I want to log in. Okay. Oh, I'm spectator. Okay, so from here, though, we should be able to see the object pool. So what I'm looking for specifically is the destroyable objects, this line right here. So it's at 16 of 16 right now. So that means there's 16 objects. So the next one, there will be more players, so more will get used. Okay. Oh, it used the same amount. Okay, so somehow we lucked out at 16. Okay, so I need to destroy them, and you'll see as I destroy them, they'll go into the pool, but my goal is to get the gray blocks and then place them. So when I use that, then I'll start using objects from the pool. So pay attention to, okay, so that's definitely not right. So when we went and destroyed it, what happened? Oh, it was that code I commented out. Okay. I can't comment it out because the animation doesn't exist, but the recycle and removal of the object exists, which is why even though this object was destroyed and it doesn't exist, what we should be seeing is this over here. So the block should be destroyed, but this pickup object should be behind it. Even though the block was destroyed and the server synchronized that information, it didn't get removed here on the Unity client. So this object is still there in front of that. So I can't. Okay. Okay, so we have our answer. I can't not implement that logic at this time. So that note for later is a note for now. This one right here. So let's bookmark this. Where's my other bookmarks? Okay, I can remove that one. Okay, I can probably remove that one. Okay, so I got just one bookmark. Okay, so we're slowly starting to run out of time here. Let's see if I can figure this one out. Okay, so at this point, we call animate and recycle object. On animate and recycle object, on destroyable, so what we need to do is we need to pass in the type. We're passing in destroyables, which is okay, but this is, again, like I said, I need to clean all of this up. That's a different ID system than the pool one, and I think I want to use the pool one and maybe change that later, but I want to funnel everything to the pool one because it's unique. This one's unique too, but I think the other one that the pool uses is more versatile. So when we call animate and recycle object, what we can do is we can create, oh yeah, because I'm going to be redoing this whole thing anyway. Okay, actually that makes it even easier. So what we'll do is we'll just create an override function. I'll override it, pass it only the parameters that I need. Yeah. Okay, no, actually that works really well. Easier than I thought. So we'll say public void. We'll use the exact same function name. String object pool type, and then string key ID, and then what was the other one? Ooh, animation remove type. I don't have that yet, but let's bring that in because I think I'm going to be using that later. Okay, so this is going to be our new function, and then this function is going to be the one that uses the if dictionary 2D key exists. If key exists, object pool type else primary key does not exist. And then we'll do another check. If dictionary 2D dot key exists, and we'll say object pool type and then key ID equals true, else secondary key does not exist. Okay, and then we can call, what was that function? Animate and recycle and remove. Okay. So what we can get is we can get the iPoolable object. No, that's not what I want. I want iPoolable object equals. I wonder, could I have just simplified this? I think I could have just used the get if t0 equals, yeah, I already do those checks. Oh, that's why I like making these custom classes. So I can simplify this whole thing actually. So I can say this dictionary2d dot get, and we can say object pool type and key ID, and then just check if that's not what I meant to do. If iPoolable object equals does not equal null, else primary and or secondary key could not be found. Okay, so then we have our iPoolable object. Do we have animate and recycle? No, we don't have animate and recycle. What is animate and recycle? Where did that go? What is animate and recycle? Animate and recycle is a part of environment dynamic object. I could make that a part of the object pool or the poolable object, so then I could override it in the extended class and still leverage the functionality. I think I like that. Or I can typecast it, which I don't want to do. I want to keep it as a reference through the interface. I think that's what I'll do. I'll add this, but then what we're doing is we're calling remove. That's important. That's really important. So we're calling this first, and then we're going to call the remove, which was going to use that function that we made that was called dictionary2d remove. And that will figure that stuff out for us. Let me just pass in iPoolable object. Yeah, okay, so we need animate and recycle in the poolable object. We don't have that, so let's make that. So this will be overridable, so it will be void animate and yeah, okay, animate and recycle. Okay, but because we've added this here, I need to add that to my base class, the poolable, no, what's it called? Poolable object. It's interesting. I couldn't find it. So iPoolable object. Okay, so this should actually be giving me a warning message saying, hey, it doesn't exist. It's not. Did I save this? Animate and recycle. Okay, that's fine. So we'll add it to over here for the override stuff. So public virtual void, and there's our function for override. So now we should be able to call it from here, and it will be, oh, it needs to now be changed to an override function. Okay. So this here needs to be a override on here. Whoops. No, it's not giving me the correct reference. I think it's on the environment. Where's my environment object class? No warning messages, really? I would have liked it if it would have given me, oh, maybe it's a notification and not a warning. I have those disabled. Yes, okay. Okay, maybe not. Okay, so what I need is my environment, not the explosive object, but the other one. Environment object properties, nope. Need the I need just the environment object. That's what it is. So this should have the animation on complete scale, play animation intro. No, it wasn't play animation intro. It was this one. Oh, okay. So I see. That's why. Animate and recycle. So this should be a override. Okay. So this overrides that. That overrides this. Okay. So then this shouldn't just be override. It should be base dot this first and then call recycle. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense, right? That makes sense. I think so. Okay, so when we go back to our let's close that. So when we go back here and we actually, where did we add that? Right here. So this should now be linked correctly. 7 references. That's correct. Before it was only showing like, I think 2. So these are the correct references. Okay, so now we know it's linked correctly. So that should fix it. And this is a generic way. And this function will replace this whole function. So that will replace this. And see how much simpler it is, right? And that's what I want to keep doing with this class. And then from here, then this will cascade into the object pool. But now that we've done this, this should work. Let's go ahead and give it a try. Okay, so we have 2. Okay, so that's correct. And then we will log in. I am using my controller. I'm a big fan of controllers. Okay, so we'll end this round and we'll go straight into the next round. Oh, and if you guys haven't had a chance, definitely check out my YouTube tutorial video that I did about Sprite Atlas, Texture Atlas. I thought it was pretty good. I don't know. And I would like some feedback too. If you guys watched it and you thought maybe it was good or there's room for improvement or whatever, let me know if there's some stuff that's not clear. Because I want to do those videos every so often and make a... oh, no. Okay, so that didn't fix it. That didn't fix it. Okay, so it's not crashing. So what happened there? Oh, of course. So I did all of that, right? But then I didn't actually call the function. It's still calling the legacy function. Oh, I did all of that and I still called the legacy function. That's wild. Okay, so this will need to call that dot. It was the destroyable objects key ID and then, okay, I'll leave the other part. Okay, now that's the right function. Let's see how that works. Okay, so I'm really running out of time here. Hopefully I got it this time, because the rest of the logic is going to follow a similar suit to this, and it'll be really good once I got this going. Okay, so we'll just place a couple here, or more than a couple. So we have 4, we change scene. Okay, so the pool is cleared. In the future, I do want to retain the pool for certain objects, but I'll get into that later. It's something that is I consciously want to definitely fix or preserve the resources that have been loaded, should I say. So we're not building a pool and then clearing it and then rebuilding it again. That's not the best resource way of managing resources, but it works for now. We'll get there later. Since you asked, you sounded like you were going 100 miles a minute, and my eyes could not move fast enough to see what you were talking about. I was surprised because your speed is the best live at Twitch. Actually, that's ironic because I've been told pretty much the opposite, is that I'm too slow in normal talking, and I've been watching these training videos that others have put up, and I saw that they were going faster, so I intentionally went faster, and then here you are telling me that I was going too fast. Okay, so it worked. Okay, but I appreciate you letting me know. That's exactly the kind of feedback that I want. Okay, so that means then I'll need to maybe slow things down a bit. I don't know. It's difficult to say, I guess. I'm looking for a gray block, by the way. And pay attention to the object pool. The more of these blocks I destroy, the more of them go into the pool. So right now we have 5 available. So that means the object pool has 17 total. Or sorry, the instances have 17 total, 5 on stage and 12 in the pool. That's correct. So that brings our total to 17. Oh, there's a gray block. Okay, so I'll grab those. I'll keep clearing it. I watch training videos all the time, and you beat them in speed by a mile. Oh, that's awesome. And here I thought I was going too slow, so I intentionally went faster. Okay, so we have 1 object on stage, 17 in total instances, 16 in the pool. So if I was to use one, right? So now we got, okay, so we've got 17 total, 2 on stage, 15 in the pool. That's pretty good to me. I think that's pretty good. But what I want to do is I want to use more than what we have currently in the pool and see the total go up. And you can see these glitches, right? These anomalies. These are because of what I'm trying to fix right now, is the pool, and the way that it all kind of ties together is the cause of these weird anomalies. Yeah, see that right there? They disappeared, right? That is exactly what's going to get fixed. And there's another one right here. It disappeared. right? Okay. So now the pool hopefully will get depleted and we'll get more total instances depending on randomly how many the server generates for the map. Okay, there we go. Wait, 31? That's not right. This is exactly why I need to test these things. So it basically ignored the object pool. Wait, that doesn't make sense. Okay, so there's more stuff I need to figure out here because the instances, it went up to 31, but we have 17 on stage and 14 in the pool. We already had 17 instances. It should have depleted the pool and we should have had 17 on stage because that's what we were at before. Okay, so I still need to figure this out, but this is what you can see. How useful this tool is in allowing me to see the objects in the pool. It's invaluable, and it'll help me really clean this stuff up. Because I was taking a wild guess. Prior to this, I didn't know. I was taking a guess, and I was all over the place. But since I made this tool, and I'm going to be making a lot more of these. Game is really coming along. Excited to see the finished product. As am I. But that's going to be a while. However, I am hoping to, within the next maybe 6 months or so, not exactly, of course, I want to have this be playable. I won't have artwork. I won't have a lot of stuff. But I want this, the game room, I want it to be playable. I want us to be able to jump in and be able to play on desktop, on mobile, on whatever, right? And be able to play. That's the idea. So then once I completed the functionality for this, right, I want to shift my focus over to some more artwork and then shift again to then the world and start getting into building out the world, the pet combat and the pet combat system. And since the world is going to be 2.5D, really 3D, we have a jump mechanic that didn't exist before. So right now, you can still play alongside the Flash client, right? But as soon as the position changes from XY to XYZ and the other logic that goes with it, they won't work together anymore. That's why I'm trying to put as much of it as I can inside of the game room, right? Because it shares a lot of this logic over with the world. So then when we go over to the world part, I can safely, maybe not completely right away, ditch the Flash client, but no longer be reliant on it in the same way, in a different way still, until we catch up to it, but not exactly in the same way. So we'll see how that goes. But I think that's going to be it for me today, though. So 6 months a good goal? Yeah, I think it's not going to be exact, but it's going to be like what you see, like artwork-wise, graphics-wise, it's more or less still going to be this. But the functionality behind the scenes of the client, like will, in theory, my goal is to be able to do a build for, let's say, Windows and Android, right? And then we'll be able to play it whether you're using a mouse and keyboard, a on-screen touchscreen, or a gamepad, whether you're using a telescopic controller on an Android device, or if you're connecting like a Xbox or PlayStation controller to your device, which is what I do to my tablet, to my Android tablet, and I test it out that way. I want to be able to experiment these things, right? Because I want feedback specifically from you guys and from the others who are in the beta tester program on the forum. I want to give you guys access to these files, or should I say this project file, depending on if you want to use Windows or Android or whatever. I won't be supporting iOS and Mac OS X at this specific time, just because I don't have the hardware and there's a huge cost associated with it, and it's just not feasible for me right now. I did it for a year, and it was just not feasible. Like I put about $1,000 for 1 year of just being able to do builds for Android and iOS. It's just not worth it. That money is much better spent on artwork, on licensing, on server, domain costs, and whatnot, and those kinds of things. It's much better spent on that. Oh, and the other thing I want to do is, so I periodically, like, I'm always thinking about how I can improve the broadcast and make the stream more enjoyable for you guys and make it more of a better interactive experience. So what I'm planning is not right now, but sometime in the future, I'm considering doing a, what do you call it? I don't know if I'm going to do the green screen, but I think maybe the green screen and kind of bring myself into the video more. So like instead of being this tiny little icon that you see in the bottom right corner, the background would get masked out, right? And you would see me a little bit bigger than the what you see me right now, but then I'll be in the picture. So kind of like how a lot of the other broadcasters do it as well. I think it's a neat idea. I think it's worth trying. I don't know how well it will work out, but let me know if you guys like that idea. It's something that I have thought about, as well as other modifications that I'd like to do in the future moving forward. Do you have a green screen? No, I do not have a green screen at this time. It's something that I've considered, but I just haven't really got around to it, right? Because I don't think my current camera is going to hold up very well either, because it keeps cutting out, right? Because I'm doing Android development and I'm using an Android camera as my webcam, and I use an Android tablet to do test builds on, and I run multiple instances of I have multiple instances of what's it called? I forget the name of it. Unity. It's right in front of me. I can't read. You can see how tired I am. Running multiple instances of Unity, it conflicts with the Android ADB connection that the webcam uses, which is not really a webcam. It's an old Android phone, which you're seeing me through right now. So that needs to be replaced, right? And then I was thinking of getting just a very basic green screen, and then bring myself into the picture, right? The audio, I think, is pretty good. I mean, I've heard the audio many times, minus the barking dog and the occasional car noise. I think the audio is pretty good, but it's something that I have thought about, and it's something that I haven't committed to yet. But if I do decide to do it, it'll be like sometime in the future, right? It's not going to happen anytime soon. It'll probably be months from now, because there's a lot of other priorities. It was just something I thought of, and I wanted to just share with you guys and see what you guys think. You want the pull down one? Oh, you mean the roll up and the pull down one of the green screen? Yeah, that one is pretty good, but it's a bit expensive, like $200 something. That's a fair chunk of money for something. And don't get me wrong, I don't think it's bad. I really like the compactness of it. But for that price, I had no idea it was that much when I looked at it. So I would probably just throw some together. Like even the lighting that you see me through right now, I made these lights. My lighting setup cost me under $40. I took a cardboard box, I cut them out through origami. I kind of put them together and kind of bent the inner walls and glued it together, put tinfoil, went to Home Depot, bought LED white light bulbs, got the socket and the wire. I did all of that stuff myself. And then to diffuse the light, I took garbage bags, the plastic garbage bags that you can buy anywhere, the white ones. They're pretty good. You take 2 layers of them, you put them on top of each other, and then you tape it over the box, and you got yourself a really nice soft box. So, so yeah, I think I would probably come up with my own solution. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I just don't like spending money on stuff. It's not that I don't like spending money on stuff. I don't like spending money on stuff that I'm not necessarily going to use. If I can justify something, I will absolutely pay for it gladly, right? But if it's something I'm not really using all that often, I don't really carry stuff around with me. Like I'm minimalist. I'm not a nudist. I'm a minimalist. So anything I don't use, I don't keep around, right? If I use it, I'll keep it. And if I use it regularly, I'll get something better of it, right? So that's just how I am, right? So it's just something I've thought about, but we'll see. You still not wear a t-shirt, Des? It's true. I currently don't wear a t-shirt. It's because it's hot. The apartment that I'm in is so unbelievably hot and humid. This is the first apartment, and I've been in many apartments. This is the first apartment that's like this, where at about 2 o'clock, when the sun hits a certain rotation, and I get that sunlight on this side of the apartment, the temperature slowly starts to rise, right? I had no idea. This is my first year being in this apartment. It's not even been a year yet. I came into this apartment at February or February or March. I don't remember exactly, but I haven't been here that long, right? So this is my first summer. That temperature at about 2 o'clock, it starts to rise and the humidity goes up with it. At about 4 or 5 in the afternoon, or in the evening, should I say, it hits a unrealistic temperature, right? And it stays that way until about 4 or 5 in the morning. That is too much for me, right? And of course, yeah, I'm going to overheat, right? Because I like the heat, but not that much, right? And then it's back to back, days back to back. And then if there's multiple hot days like there is right now, the temperature in the apartment, right, doesn't actually go down right away. It takes time for the building infrastructure, the building frame to cool down, right? But if there's hot sun the next day and the next day and the next day and the next day, it doesn't actually get cool, right? So that is what results in me going shirtless. I mean, no offense, but it's for my personal comfort, really. That's exactly what it is. I don't care if I'm not wearing a shirt. Do you guys care? Probably not, right? I mean, yeah, can joke about it, but I don't think you guys care either. So to me, it's not that big of a deal. Do you have an air conditioner? Yes, I do. And this is the first time in my life that I live in a place that has an air conditioner because I had to get one. And even though I got one, the air conditioner can only do so much. It makes it manageable. It makes it so I don't get that, sweaty kind of feeling. But still, like when I'm talking and when I'm broadcasting specifically, right, because of just the action of talking actually warms up your body more, right? So my body temperature is slightly above average than if I was not talking. So yeah, it's going to be shirtless broadcast for a little while. And then once it cools down, of course, I'll be wearing my shirt again. But yeah. With the size you're now, it's almost impossible to tell you're wearing a shirt or not. So if you increase the size, yeah, but it won't be for likely a few months or so, right? So by then we'll be into fall, right? Um, and then it'll be cool by then. So I'll definitely be broadcasting with a shirt on until next summer if I'm here. Um, Oh, and the Halloween event is going to be coming up again soon too. So if you guys want to participate for the Halloween event with the Halloween pets and whatnot, it seems to be a popular event, as well as it's an opportunity to get a very rare necklace that you may be interested in. Wink, wink, right? That you can only get during the Halloween event, right? So that's coming too. I fell asleep at 5 today. It was so stuffy. Yeah, it was warm, but the AC definitely helped. It definitely helps, but it doesn't make it go away. Most guys don't care if you see anyone while they broadcast. But to be honest, most people have themselves so large you can't what they're doing. I'm not sure. You can't see what they're doing. See, okay. Yeah. So see, you can't see what they're doing. No worries. Yeah. So anyway, it's an experiment. If we try it, and that's why I don't want to invest into something that is not going to bring value, right? If it brings value and it makes it more enjoyable for you guys, then cool. I'd like to do that, right? Also, when I do those future tutorials, right? I want to maybe consider bringing myself into it for like the first 5 or 10 minutes when I'm doing an intro, right? Or sorry, not 5 or 10 minutes, 5 or 10 seconds when I'm doing an intro, right? So we'll see. I don't know. What's important is, will it bring you value? That's a great question. And I don't know if it will or not. I think it's worth experimenting to see if it does. And if it does bring value, great, we'll do it. If it doesn't, that's okay. We'll go right back to where this is at right now. So and only you can tell if it does. Yeah. No, I agree. So we'll see. Anyway, that's going to be it for me today. So this is going to be the end of the broadcast. Thank you guys for coming and hang out. I appreciate it. And the next broadcast will be on Friday. Make sure you follow, subscribe, and that whole stuff. And have a great evening. And I'll see you guys next time.